So this is another global event. I'm really excited about that. So what is Trust in Play and why we are here? So Trust in Play is the European School of Urban Game Design, is a European Creative Europe co-funded project, and is led by the Institute, the Goethe Institute in Athens. Basically, our goal is to create the first urban game school, a school to design urban games. It's not a school yet, but we are game designer. And so basically our idea, as a game designer, you experiment a lot. So the idea right now is to experiment also with the idea of a school. And this community and this kind of webinars are the first experiment that we are doing. And also we're gonna have, I'm gonna talk about other experiments that we're gonna do like later. The first thing that is really important to mention is that right now, yeah. Okay, so can you hear me? Most of the people, yes. So I'm gonna continue. Cool. So the school is organized like in 3 branches. There is like the Amsterdam branch, which is led by the Amsterdam University of Applied Science. There is the Athens branch, which is led by Innovathens, Technolopolis, City of Athens, and Resilient Athens. And then my name is Matteo Uguzzoni, and I'm the coordinator of the 3rd branch, which is the Nomad branch, the branch that doesn't have a home, or at least has multiple homes. I'm here today with Natalia Skotsilas, which is our community manager. And yeah, we are like an online branch that is like spread all around the world. Today we have like amazing guests, and I will give them their opportunity to present themselves. But first, let me just talk a little about Trust in Play again. Basically, we have an open call that is open right now. It's gonna end the 31st of May. And basically, we are looking for a junior game designer that want to join the school, the 3 branches that I told you about. So basically, we're going to select trainees. These trainees will going to Athens in October for an international training week that is going to start the 29th of October and end the 2nd of November. And basically, we're going to have like 6 designers from Athens, 6 designers from Amsterdam, and 6 designers from the Nomadic branch. And all of us will join a team of mentors in Athens, and we're gonna train, and we're gonna like spend time talking about urban games and in Athens and learn from each other. So it's gonna be very exciting. So if you're interested, apply now, because like there are like 5 days, like less than 4 days, and then we're gonna close the call. After that, after the International Training Week, this team will develop like urban games, and this game will be showcased in spring 2020. So they're gonna have mentors, and they're gonna work together online and offline to create like this kind of urban games in their respective cities. So we are where I'm today. I'm in the MICA Game Lab, which is another partner of the project. MICA is the Maryland Institute College of Art, which is a university in Baltimore, a college of art in Baltimore, and is another partner of the project. In fact, we're gonna select 3 students from the undergrad major here, the game design major at MICA, and they will join the school as well. So we're gonna have people from all around the world joining the school in Athens. So again, if you're interested, we have like, you have 4 days to apply, 31st of May. You can find that, all the information in the website. Okay, so I think I talked enough. Let's focus on the webinar while we are here. So today is our 2nd webinar. We had the first webinar that was about money and sustainability, and you can find the entire video on the community, on the platform, community.trustinplay.eu. And it was a very interesting like conversation, and I think like some of the hints that were inside the first webinar were how to develop an audience. and how to create your own community. And I think today is really interesting because like we are going to dig in these topics, so community and festival, because let's be honest, without festival, there will be no Trust in Play, no urban games, and nothing like that. So the three persons that are with me today are really, really important for the community of urban games in Europe, because they work tirelessly on organizing festival, on creating community, and keep this thing alive in the last years. So let's start from Cologne, where we have Gabi Linde, which is an experienced designer. Let me put you on pin so everybody can see you better. So experienced designer, advocate for play and playful development, and the founder of Eden Campus. Campus, if you don't know, means playground in Latin. And so Hidden Campus create playful space to learn and explore how to lead happier and healthier life. Hi, Gabi. Thank you for joining
everyone.
us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And then let's move to Amsterdam, where we have Zoe. Zoe Butter, let me pin you. Here we go. Zoe Butter is a playful culture curator at Zoe and former Global Game Jam director, and also creator and co-founder of the Playful Art Festival. Thank you, Zoe, for joining us. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, cool. And then we move to Athens, where we have Maria Saridaki, which is the artistic co-director of Trust in Play. We had Sebastian last week. This week we have you, and curator and organizer of Athens Playton. That was a festival that took place in Athens from 2011 until 2014. And right now it creates a community that is still kicking and growing. So thank you, Maria, for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Cool. Great. Okay, cool. And then there is like tons of other people from all over the world that we're gonna talk about later. Very important. If you have questions, and I'm talking like with all the participants, if you have questions, please write those questions in the chat box. You can find the button on the button for that on the bottom of your screen, between like share screen and record. There is a chat button. You can write your question there. Natalia is gonna take care of that, and then we're gonna like read and ask those questions live. So please do that since the beginning. We're gonna keep track on that. Don't wait until the end to ask questions, because it's gonna be a conversation. So the more we have like questions from the audience, the better. We have already also like prepared questions, so that we're gonna start with. And the way we're gonna do that is basically I'm gonna ask a question, and then we're gonna do a round about this question. And again, guests, if you like, if there are like questions that you want to ask each other, please do that. I know that the three of you, you know each other, so you have a lot of this kind of conversation. So and experience also together. So feel free to do that. Okay, so the first question that I have for you is. What is the thing that you like the most about festival and live event, about game and public space? I'm gonna start with Maria, because she's the one closest to the sea. And I'm really, no, I'm joking, but it's almost summer, and I would love like to be at the sea. So yeah, that's the rule today. Okay, so Maria, what is the thing that excited you the most about festival, and urban games and public space?
I think it's that you always have to face the unexpected, and not to actually face it, but incorporate it, make it part of the experience for everybody. And also the second thing that I always love is the fact that the audiences are so different. You never know who will turn up, you never know who will play together, and who will decide to design after that. I have organized quite a few, participated in quite a few festivals, but with urban games, it's always a learning experience for me, and also a great opportunity to meet wonderful new people that I would never meet in different types of festivals, when everything is specific, and the place that we meet is specific, and it has specific rules. And last but not least, the city changes after the festival. the spaces change and the connotation of the spaces change for us as organizers, and sometimes if we're left for the players as well.
Mm. Yeah. Do you think that is because urban games are in public space that there is like this particular like change, but also like this unexpected thing?
For sure, it's always open. So you never know what will happen, from the weather up until if there is a demonstration or a riot in our case, and we had that quite a few times. If something political happened the previous day, or something social, it incorporates in the festival. It's a challenge, but it's a beautiful challenge, because after the festival, as I said before, you sometimes, if things go well or not, you can feel the change in the community after this urban festival, because as you said, it is in the public space, and because you cannot control everything.
Wow. I love that. Zoe, what is like your like favorite things about festival in public space and that incorporate play?
It's a good question. I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, what attracts me to it? But I guess on one hand, it's nice to have this tension between who's part of the festival and who's not, and that at a certain point, it will start to overlap a little bit. So at some points, there is no difference between who is part of it or who is. But then again, can also be mean that there's still too much tension and that people will not understand what's happening. In my case, we do it in our festival is taking place in a small city in the south of the Netherlands, and they are used to having carnival. It's like a really big thing, not in the Brazilian way, I guess, but more in a very much like people dress up, drink a lot of stuff, and then they will go they will go into the city. So they're used to a little bit of this playfulness in their own way, but then they still look at playfulness in the city a little bit taken aback. So it's always this strange tension between those two worlds, I guess. Even though if they're used to being playful and playfulness in a certain time, that doesn't mean necessarily that it transfers to this playfulness into the time that you are doing this, right? So that's really, really interesting. And also to just share the playfulness with people that are not expecting it, and just having them see it as something meaningful or something that brings out their curiosity. And what I really like about it is also that people are maybe on the way to something and really busy, and it takes them out of that a little bit and make them aware of, like last year we had a theme of there and now, or the here and now. So it's really about bringing people together, but also in this same time and space. And I think festivals is really great at doing that, because it's such at least for our festival, it's a short amount of time, so we can really put like lots of stuff in there. And I really like that.
Okay, so I think that there is like an interesting thing here that was like about definition of games. Usually games have like a very strict definition. They have like a time and a space that are like defined. Actually, this is the definition from Huizinga about the magic circle, right? But like with festival, basically we have like this kind of like space-time that are colliding with other kind of experience that the people are doing at the same time. So this like collision is where you have like interesting and unexpected like things, right? Yeah, that's really interesting. So, and Gabi, what is your favorite thing about festival and public space and playfulness?
So for me, it's being visible in the city and being active and interact with the city itself. Also with people you know and people you don't know, and invite them to be playful and to have experiences. You learn a lot about the city or yourself, and it's an opportunity to grow. Either there are people who are working on the festival or with the festival can make some experiences, and people who join in also. And the city as playground in itself, I really love to explore what you can do with the city, not just walking from A to B, but also think about what can I do, how can I be active, and not just sitting around somewhere, but creating something. Either you create a game or you participate in a game. And I also like meeting strangers or inviting people or strangers to act and interact with each other. And you get in contact with people, and you get in contact with the city as well. So if you play at one specific place or space and you really loved it, and you come back later, let's say a day or 2 days, 3 days later, week later, months later, so the space changed. You have a special kind of experience with that space, and maybe you love it more. Maybe you go to places you normally wouldn't go to, but you play there and you experience the space in a different kind of way. Especially places where you not really like to go, and suddenly, oh wow, I had a really great experience there. And yeah, it's a really great opportunity to do and to play and to experience. And yeah, as also I think Maria said, it's a really short time. Also, he said a short time within a festival, so you are really engaged, and maybe you find things, or you try things you wouldn't think about, but there's a lot of opportunities, and you're in the playful mood, and then you say, okay, I go to that too. Yeah, and somehow allowing yourself to go with the flow, maybe, or try something you haven't thought about before, and get inspired maybe to do also some games, or see the city differently, or be active.
Yeah. Do you, and this is a question for all of you, do you think like that there is like sort of like, I don't know, like hearing you like talking, and Gabi and Maria and Zoe also, like this thing that like we are living like more and more in bubbles, which usually are like digital bubbles. So everyone is like inside his own like circle of friends, professional that talks with, and is like talking, like is like reinforcing his own beliefs and etc. Do you think that game in public space is an answer to that? And what are like your like biggest dream that you want to achieve with this kind of like activities? Oh, this is a new question, so you can take your time to sorry, I did like do something very wrong with Maria. Okay, who wants to start? Not Maria, because yeah, you can start, Maria.
Okay, I will start. Okay. What was it? Can you say again?
So like, I think the question is like, it seems to me that urban games and the use of public space is a way to like break the bubbles that we are always in.
Yeah. Not only I agree with that, but I will share with you something that a participant shared with us a year ago. We were running another type of game, playfulness, an urban game festival, and it was also a game jam, one of these big events. And he came to us at some point and he said, you know, guys, well, I'm always expecting this type of events, especially when they are outside, because that's one of the main times that I can meet people that I would never meet in another occasion. And not only me, but actually have common experiences, exactly what Gabriela said before. And also to test this type of tensions that Zoe mentioned. This is a wonderful moment because you play, you interact, and relationships can form. You don't have to, of course, that's the beauty of it. It's not like a workshop that you have to be there, participate, and then finish it. So speaking for myself, yes, absolutely, it happens to me. It happens to the people that they design or collaborate with us to organize the festivals. And according to the participant, it's a great opportunity. And sometimes, especially if the game plays with difficult issues, it tests not only the tensions that we have with one another, but our own, the tensions that we have, and test the bubble. So sometimes in some festivals or with some games, especially in public space, I think that it's a great time to check the limits of that bubble that we have, break it or reframe it. I think organizing festivals, because I come from the academia, it was the moment of in Plaython I realized what it means to break the magic circle, and I saw it happening. I had no idea what it meant before. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you want to add something, Gabi or Zoe?
Yeah, for me, I think as well, because as Maria said, you never know what you can expect or what you will experience. And I think because I'm in a bubble of my friends and do stuff and go to places, mostly the similar places, but then within a festival, it can be a really intense time if you like to have it like an intense time. And you get in contact with so many different kinds of people. And so for me, it's the first step to being engaged in a kind of relationship, even if it's just for a game. But if you like to go on and talk to the person more and more, after that, you can have this as the first contact. And I think this breaks the bubble, because you don't know who will be there. And maybe you find out, you play with the person very well, and then you find out commonalities or differences, but it's the first time. After that, you can think about what you want to engage with the person, and maybe have new understandings or new views of the special topic.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. There is a question from the audience, which is, do you think that games can trigger long-term change in cities? And how do you think this will be possible? I saw also Carolina Vasilikiu, your question. I'm going to save that for later, because like it's a question that could be answered later. So maybe Zoe, you're the right one to answer this one, because like your festival was consistent, like in a community that is not like maybe a giant city. So like how did you see, like did you think that you triggered like some long-term change in the city? Which, by the way, can you say the name, which is like really hard for me? Sorry.
What of what? Name of
the
what?
name of the city. The name of the city where you...
Yeah, okay. Well, the easiest one is Den Bosch.
Den Bosch, okay.
And there's a bit more difficult one is 's-Hertogenbosch.
Bosch. Okay, yeah. Cool. Den Bosch.
Yeah,
so what was your experience like in this city? Like you were consistently doing the festival in the same city, the same community.
Yeah.
Did you think that you triggered something there?
Tough question. I guess just by being there, that makes, I guess, a difference. But since our festival is twofold, so one part is doing things in the city, and the other part is just being at a central location where we do all things. And we have been in different kinds of locations, so actually similar locations but different ones. So one was in a cultural hub kind of thing, which was the Willem II factory, and it was interesting to see what kind of people were coming there beforehand and during our festival, and have them intermingle. And then last year we did it in another cultural hub that is like starting up. That it was an old like an old factory for feed stuff. I don't know how you call it in English anymore, but for cattle. And it's now transformed into this whole cultural space with different little creative studios, but also a restaurant and things where other things take place, which was a really interesting hub for us to be part of, because we were just part of this whole like restaurant space where we put like little things inside that people could experience, like little experiences. But then for different kind of people, like people that were there to just have a drink, they were like, oh, what's happening? And other people were really engaging in it. So in that sense, we also transformed the space at that certain point into this playful space where people could experience different things. And like that cultural hub is still interested in working together with us. And I guess the most literal thing that it changed was we had these giant play letters on top of the building, which are still used, and I think they're still there, and it's like very Instagrammable. So people are still taking pictures of that. So in that sense, it changed a little bit. But I don't think, and I also think the municipality was kind of interested in our festival in different ways, and they were really like forthcoming and really excited about if we were doing something, and they almost never said no if we wanted to do something, which is really nice to have that kind of engagement of the municipality. We didn't really ask for things to set fire into things or something, so that's also helpful, obviously. But they were really very they were very excited about these things, so which is why we could like put all these things in there. But then again, because it's a small city and they have these things like carnival, and also every once in a year or 2 years or something, because it's the city of the Hieronymus Bosch, the painter. Yeah, they sometimes have this parade of boats and all kinds of other things that are dressed up like Hieronymus Bosch characters from different kinds of paintings and stuff. So it's really creative and super exciting. So they're also kind of used to that kind of thing. So this is, I guess, why. But I don't think I'm answering your question. I guess it's a little bit, I don't think we make that much change, also because it's not like we do it every other year. So it's every 2 years our festival. And we have to start the process anew all the time, kind of, with the municipality and the environment, which is why we also try to do a couple of other things in between to keep that like going a little bit more. But because it's not really like, I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago where they at the 72-hour urban action festival, and that's like really trying to change things, right? Because you're building stuff and it's like for the future for a long while. And I guess we just change people's perception maybe a little bit of the space. And also that sometimes when I walk through the city, I now have memories of things that happened there. And I think that's also the same for other people. So it's it's a kind of on a different level than really making the city change, right?
Yeah. You have the same feeling about the perception, which is something that sometimes we think is not like really changing the city, but perception is part of our like way to live cities. So like I think to answer to this question, which was by the way from Juan Carlos Carvajal, it's urban games, they work like more in a space that is not physical, is more like in the memories, in the perception, but it's not like a space that we don't have to tap into because it's really important at the same time. Yeah, and Gabi and also Maria, what is so Maria in particular, you said that you have like from the festival there was like a community that came out, right? So there is basically from like being constant or organizing a festival, then you created like a community of probably designers. So this is another output that like Zoe said, that having like a consistent and positive relationship with the public administration and the municipality is a very good thing, because like then you have like someone that want to listen to you, and probably being constant on that and having like also small things, it's important. But in terms of like designer, what was your experience with Athens Playton?
We had a completely different experience. In 2011, there was not such an experience as urban games for adults in Athens. It was a new thing, so we had 0 designers, or we thought that we had, or they thought that they did not design urban games. And we had to start from scratch to build a community before building the festival. We brought, so the first event that we did, it had to do with bringing celebrated artists and creators from around the globe in Athens to show people what it can happen, to inspire them as players and as designers. And then we started having very consistent meetups and a lot of work in including as many people and as many voices as possible. So that while we're organizing the festival, we were taking care, we're cultivating that community of people, of complete architects, designers, political activists, educators, you name it. So that was a huge part. The difference experience also in our case had to do with the relation that we have with the authorities. So the Athens Plaython started during the crisis, but the financial crisis in Athens, but after a lot of turmoil, political difficult situations in Athens, and a lot of police brutality. So we had again to see how people feel about public space before telling them how to feel, or before organizing experiences or inviting them to organize experiences. Also, it was a tricky part to work with the authorities on that. We had to, of course, always, and on the second and then afterwards on the third year, they were much more supportive. At least they gave us licenses to play after a lot of work. But I can tell you that many of our events were guerrilla. Actually, one of the reasons that we decided to end Athens Plaython as a festival was because we decided that we would like to not to include the authorities as much in the festival's events and games and playful experiences that we would have in the city.
Okay. So, like, in terms of community, do you feel that having this festival created as a community of designers that are interested in working in public space or not? And also after that, Gabi, yeah.
So if we think...
Yeah, do you, yeah.
Yeah, it was a twofold. We first introduced what urban games or playful for adults in a city could mean. And then we had a lot of discussions to, first of all, inspire them to express themselves. And after it was them that they took ownership of that. They started creating games. Some of the festival or the workshops that we had a specific theme. Others were completely on the participants. They were very open. People could design their own games for the things that they would like to.
That's great.
We tried to be there all the time supporting, not as experts, especially back then we were talking about myself. Expert was not a word that could describe what I was. I was an observer mostly, but mainly as players. So, and I think in the urban games community in Athens, this is the feeling that stuck, that we're all together and we're all designing something together. And I'm not gonna answer Carolina's answer now, but it's a lot of ownership and authorship and so on.
Gabi, what was your experience with Siegen? And also
So playing Siegen was very special for me because it was a lectureship. So it was, I was asked from the University of Siegen, especially by Judith Ackermann. Hi, Judith, if maybe you listen or see it someday. And so I had 21 students, and I had about half a year with them to work on the project. And we had a sponsorship, and we had a budget for this too, which we had also to ask for, not just handed, but it was a big process in funding. And so it was, Siegen is a small city, and at first I thought, why Siegen? Who is in Siegen? Who's there? But then I thought, yes, especially in small cities, it's very important to have game festivals like this, because it's not so overcrowded like in big cities. And they had an upper city and a lower city, and they were kind of not rivalry, but separated in a kind of way. And one of the aim of the game was to bring both the upper city and the lower city together with play spaces, and also making the students more visible in the city, because a lot of students were studying in the city but staying somewhere else in different cities. So for me, it was a really good experience to let the students help creating the festival, and having people who are who have a liability to help and to create it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that, so maybe the next question could be jumping on that. What did you learn from the first festival that you organized? And maybe you can start
yes.
with the playing Siegen. What did you learn?
Yes.
Like in terms of, let's now maybe enter in a more like practical side of how to organize festival and this kind of stuff. And I'm also like collecting the questions. So thank you, Marie-Claire, and also Connor Moloney for your question. So what was like in your first, so you started like organizing this festival. It was like, did you organize something this big before?
Not this big, no. So
Not
I was used to create organize events. So
yes.
It was not so new, but it was this big, and I started.
This big, yeah.
Yes, and then
so
I started asking people who are game designers to if they like to participate, maybe. And then I started to have the sessions with the students. And what I really learned was you need more time than half a year with students. So I think it would be better to have maybe two separate sessions with the students, like half a year for preparation, and then half a year for doing the festival actually, and getting ready for the festival. And what I also learned was so the festival was really big within 2.5 days on a weekend, starting Friday afternoon until Sunday afternoon. We had a lot of games and a lot of stuff to do. And if I would change it for the next time, I would have less things, because we had over, I don't know, maybe 20 games and experience and workshops, or maybe more. So I felt it was a really lot of work in less amount of time, and rather starting a little smaller, like on a smaller scale, than to go instantly that big. So it was the second Playing Siegen Festival. The first one was from Anne Lenk and Judith Ackermann. They established it in 2015. And what they did, they had another lectureship before that to have urban games created by students. So the games were also presented at the game festival in 2015. So we didn't have that. So we had to organize people with games. And what I really would have loved to do is also having games created by several students or by locals, especially for the festival. So that's also a kind of engagement for people. And so if you organize game design workshops, you can also invite other people who try to think about, oh, maybe I can do this too. And like engaging the public, like doing stuff in public, like preparing, and people come to you and ask you, what are you doing? And so you also create a kind of relationship with people who are maybe later engaged in the game or in participating or in game designing. Yeah, so it was really, really big, and
Yeah,
it was
I
hard work,
remember
and the students were really, really great.
that.
So some were experienced, some not. So I had also to deal with helping them to how they can do this.
Yeah,
It was also a learning experience for me, but in the end, everyone worked really, really hard and really well. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember there was tons of stuff to do in Siegen. It was really, really, really exciting.
Yes.
Zoe, what was your what is something that the first thing that you organized, like a festival you learned, or like something that you did like that constantly for different years? So like every time you change something, right? So what was like
Well,
something that you discovered?
Actually, the first thing that I ever organized was in 2003 for DIGRA Level Up conference, game research conference, basically. It was an exhibition, and I actually thought I'm never gonna do that again because it was kind of hard to get, like, because I'm kind of shy in person, so I would have to call people and get them to be part of the whole thing, and that was not really my strong suit. So organizatorial wise, it was kind of hard for me. But then email and websites and Twitter and all of that stuff really helped make my life a bit easier in that sense. So yeah, organization is tough. And what was the question again?
Yeah, well, if there was like something that you learned,
Loads of stuff. Yeah.
lots of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we work for the festival itself. We work with a theme, so that will help us like make it a little bit like manageable of what kind of things we pick. Even though we always go outside of the theme as well, because we are just interested in bringing things together in a certain way. And well, yeah, I think you need to start early, and in our case we have every other year, so we have about like a year and a half to prepare our festival, and we have loads of conversation with loads of different people. And our festival is also not only about urban play, but also about like performance arts and theater and sound and music and food design, and like we try to bring everything together. Maybe it's a bit much, but we are really interested in bringing all of these different perspectives together, so you learn and experience new and different things, and I think it works well for us, at least. But yeah, I think you need to like start conversations early with the artists and with people you want to involve, also with partners, because there's loads of partners you need. Funding is always an issue. I should still watch the money thing from before the other webinar, see if I can learn something from there. Yeah, so it's like lots of conversations, and also talking to peers and other people. At our festival last year, we tried to have this playful arts network kind of thing going on, where we just invited a couple of other different curators from different fields and perspectives around play, to see if we like maybe help each other out in a certain way. And we hope to continue this, but because we don't want to do everything by ourselves, and also we could learn from each other, right? So this is like what you're doing now. It's also very important to just have these conversations going, and you don't have to be in person, but it's nice. But yeah, and make it like a little bit broader. But yeah, there's so many things, I don't even know where to start. There's so many things you learn from it. So if there's a very specific question, I can also answer that.
No, but like, for example, like in terms of timeline, you said that you start 1 year and a half and you give yourself how much, like 6 months to like have this conversation. And then like 1 year before you say, okay, now we have to have the program and the funding, or we're going to focus more on that. Like seeing like this happening various time. What is now the timeline? Do you have like milestones that you have to reach in order to be able to do the festival or other things like that?
Yeah.
Or you're getting better or something? I don't know.
Getting better? No, sometimes more confused. I mean, yeah, planning wise, we start with the theme, trying to figure out what our goals are, I guess. But this, because I'm doing it together with a colleague, Iris Peters, and she comes from like more visual art, and we're both interested in performance art, and I'm more from the play side and game side. So we always have to have these conversations amongst ourselves to just establish what we want to do and what kind of things we want to put there. So this has to start early, almost. Also, there's things that we couldn't have done during the first festival, so we might bring that over to the next festival. And sometimes it's like a super big project, so it's maybe, you know, it's something. For example, last year we had wow, I don't recall the name now, but Bodies in Urban Spaces by Willy Dorner. And he is a choreographer from Vienna, and you have to start this conversation early because otherwise they won't be available in the next 2 years or something. So you really have to start that early, and it's like a super big project. We had to have like auditions for the people that were participating in it. Then they had to have a whole week of playing and testing and trying and training, and then they could do this at the festival. And we also had Eric Zimmerman and Natalie Pozzi with a big game in a courtyard, and it needed like these giant inflatable balloons, and it needed these structures. So you really need to take care of that like way in advance because it needs shipping. So it a little bit depends on what kind of projects you have in there. That takes a lot of time. And then funding is like a real issue for festivals like this, because it's not necessarily games only, it's not necessarily performance art only, so it's really hard to get that done. So you really have to think about how to write it down so that other people will understand what you're saying, and we're still learning of how to do that, right? So it depends a little bit on the projects that you want to put down at your festival, for how long it will take. But yeah, you start as early as possible, and also thinking about how to get your money to be able to do it.
Thank you. Maria, what was your learning experience?
So Plaython for me was a huge school, but I'm going to stuck to the question and I'm going to answer about my first experience. Girls already have covered a bazillion things that are super important. My first experience, it was in 2000, that it was like on me. I was not just participating. It was the first serious games festival in Athens. It was in 2008. There were riots outside. People could not come. Designers were stuck in Exarchia that we have chosen to organize it. And what happened is that it was chaos. It was chaotic. And then I had 3 of the most important learnings that I revalued in Plaython and since this day. 1, don't try to do everything by yourself. Don't. Even if you know that you can do it, always have conspirators with you. Even if you want to make a small festival, something that it's manageable, the last 3 weeks, you will realize that probably was not a very wise choice. The thing is, you will have your team, you will have your community, small or big, 2 people, 3 people, a huge, vast, I don't know, number of volunteers as well. Make very specific what each person has to do. Either delegate or ask them what they want to do, but make it very specific. And the third and most important, ask for help. When things don't go well, when another deadline is making things difficult, ask for help. So to go one step before, when we are organizing a festival, we need to make sure that these 3 things will happen so that people will know that they're not alone. 2, that they know specifically what they want to do, what they have to do, or what they should do. And 3, that there are always channels of direct communication with us or other people that they can also, before and during the organization or during the actual festival, they can go and ask for help. And I'm talking only about the organizers now. And the last thing that I did not really learn it during my first event, but it was during Playfun, but I would like to share it, is that a good tip would be to speak with the local community. So if you decide to have your festival in a specific alley or in a specific street, make sure that beforehand you have already spoken with the people, you have explained what you're going to do, and you will ask for their assistance as well. I think the most successful experiences in the festivals that I have been organizing or helping, it didn't come from us or the game designers. It came from the people that they were in the space, and to fit it with the previous question, this is what created the changes when the festival was over. The people that they stay there, they work there, they live there, or they pass every day, they made that experience count. So they created new forms of interaction between them, sometimes relationship, sometimes they took some of the learnings and experiences and they put it in their everyday practice. So yeah, focus on the people, the organizers, as well as the locals.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is, which I think is in general, like in your approach, is always like listen first and then create, because sometimes festival has this problem, right? And festival and big events, they like land in the city, they like colonize the space, and then they leave. And then you have like maybe designers from all around the world coming, but they don't have like they cannot interact with the community, so they do their stuff. Maybe you have like some interaction that is interesting, but then they leave, and then there's nothing left instead of memory, personal memory. So what you are suggesting is instead, like, start listening to the space, start listening to the community that are already there, they are already active, and then adapt your like ideas and festival to that.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is really,
that is the
really
way
important.
that the festival will become larger than what we initially hoped for. It will become different from what we have in our mind, and it will create different types of meaning that if it would just stay between the organizers, it would be sometimes the same thing again and again. And in our case, we tried a lot to combine very very well-known artists and designers with people that they just heard about it and they had an idea about the game and they had the same importance in the festival. That was very important as well.
Yeah. So I have a question from the audience that was written actually in the community, in the discussion that we had before this webinar, and this from Noemi. And the question is, I'm curious about the impact, or what comes out of festival is measured, and if it's measured at all, beyond tickets and audience number. In terms of people engaged in new practice, new collaboration, etc. What is the story that we can tell others to advocate for more deep culture events? So yeah, the question is like, do you measure, like, do you have like a way to understand the impact of like your festival? And we're not talking about long-term impacts, but like numbers. And what are these numbers? And also like, what is the story that you use to then sell? I don't think that sell is the right word, but like to promote again, like a cultural event like that one. Who wants to start? I'm gonna pick Gabi.
Yes. So in terms of numbers, I think it's difficult to say because we don't have tickets. It was open for everyone. So we just could measure how many people attended to different kinds of workshops and different kinds of games and like that. But what we did is we created a story beforehand and during the festival. So we had a mascot like a green dice called Siggy, And so beforehand, we were visible in the city, and we created different kinds of guerrilla, small kinds of games interacting with people. And we had the city like going to different places during the festival, and we documented it also. So we also created a story about not just here's a game, play, but also combining it and having a theme as well, like Zoe said. And for the impact, well, I was in Siegen with a lectureship, and then I was back to Cologne. So I think it would be maybe if there's another festival created, you could measure maybe for the interaction. But I also think that yeah, for changing the city, it was for the weekend, and I think you need, if you're staying longer, or if you live in a city, you can have more experience on that. So I have another project in Cologne called in the Ebertplatz. It's a big space where no car is driving, and it was a space where people were afraid of going there. And so the city of Cologne said they wanted to create a playful spaces in between if it's used in different kind of way. So I'm working with a civic center in Cologne and with a municipality, and we create playful activity days, and we engage also people, and we make promises like this. We meet every second Monday, and if you want to join, you can join in. And so people start coming more and more, starting slowly, but they know we are there. And even if they don't come on one Monday, they know, okay, the next Monday maybe they would like to join. So I think it's important to create promises like we are there. If you want to join in, you can, but don't feel obligated to, and have a liability for people who want to engage for the reaching out. And so in my experience, more and more people participate, and more people just help and like volunteer, especially older people. They are really love to do this, because not only they have time, but they have a lot of experiences. And they're the most active, and some active people. So we created working groups around them with specific topics like urban gardening, or like activities around activity days to help with the organizing, and we let them help. And I think this is very important for the long-term engagement, because sometimes, so at one point we will be away, and we want that people, we set impulses for people, starting to help them create, managing themselves, and then we go and maybe help a little bit, but let them do and let them help creating an own community together and be playful with it.
Yeah. So facilitation instead of like colonizing again. Yeah, that's great. And Zoe, well, how do you measure the success of your
festival? I think numbers, we are like kind of a small and intimate festival. So for us, it's not about like 500,000 people. We wouldn't want that, right? I guess there's like 4 different, or a couple of different things. Like for us, location is kind of important. So where you are and who is part of that location and who's coming there. For us, last year with the location, they were the Werkwarenhuis, they were super excited about this whole idea of participatory art, so that they could actually, like, everyone who's coming in could just be part of the whole festival, and there was like not that much of a burden to get into it. So that's really important, and that the location is happy also with us, and that it brings new people to their space, but also that it brings new ideas of what the space can do and what people can do with it, and also what kind of connections it makes between different people. And the playfulness is something that they could also add to this space, even though it was already a very playful space, but they probably wouldn't have thought about it as a playful space necessarily. Then we are also very much like with the artists, we really want the artists engaged. So we bring the artists over so they can also have like new get new ideas, but also start new collaborations. So we had like 2 different people from not different communities necessarily, but they are doing new things together now, like making new artworks, like playful game-like artworks. One person is an illustrator, the other is like a game designer, and now they're working together. We also had things like this, we also do master classes, not during also during the festival, but also in between. So we had this art of play masterclass where we bring people together from different backgrounds, different disciplines and areas, and then we match them together, and then they give a masterclass together. So they have this like speed learning of who they are and what they want to tell, what kind of story they want to share together to the masterclass participants. It's also it's very interesting to see what happens then. At one point we also brought together like dancers with a game designer, because the dancer group really wanted to have this participatory art where people would participate in that, but they didn't really know how. So we brought them together. They also come to the festival all the time, and they're super excited about this. Like, oh yeah, I really didn't think about playfulness and play, even though like our dance is kind of playful, but they were so rigorous and strict with like their training and how they would go about it. And they tell me now they will use it in like whenever they're stuck. They think, oh no, we should just play and just let go and be playful and see what happens then, so that they can get unstuck. So yeah, there's several ways for us that like when they tell us that it's really meaningful that our festival made that kind of things happen. So it's about collaboration and meaningful impact on their perception of life or their collaboration or their work.
Yeah. And yes, so basically you're unable for new designer like challenge. That's great. And like Maria, how do you measure like the impact on Athens Playton?
In our case, we had completely different events. So we might had, as the girl said, from 5 to 15 people, like master classes, workshops, discussions, curated events, or conferences or game jam, up until events and festivals and game jams for 2000. And the way that we tried to first of all document what was happening varied. I would like to share some mistakes that we did, because the girls already mentioned some wonderful. So, different mistakes. 1, not enough documentation. Amazing things happening. No one was there to take a photo or a picture or a specific video. 2, we paid a lot of money in zero budget conferences and festivals. We paid the only budget that we had, it went to really high quality video documentaries that either we haven't debriefed them properly to give them an idea what will happen when they arrive there. They didn't know what they did, and they just documented nothing. The video had nothing to do with the experience. Or we paid the proper person, we explained exactly what we wanted, we got the video, but then we did not disseminate it enough. So it just stayed somewhere, and we're very proud and happy. We saw it in conferences, in festivals, but we didn't do a proper dissemination. The evaluation that I trust personally is after the festival, when we have our meetups. The meetups that we have as a community between the organizers, that we say what happened, we try to share stories. So it's about storytelling. What happened? Tell me your experiences. And then, of course, between the designers that already were in the community and the new ones, the new entries, because we want to make them feel included, and we crave for their stories and their view that is really fresh. And third, sometimes in Plaython we try to do it. We take a lot of time to talk with the players in the community. I will say something very specifically and say one mistake that we did there. In 2014, we designed with Chloe Varelidi that is a tour de force of Athens Plaython, we co-designed a tool that would be like a pop-up festival. Everybody could take this tool and create a one-day festival with their friends on the beach, on the village, whenever they were, using specific games and pop-up events and the idea of the heroes and stories and such. We worked super hard on that. There were so many communities, friends, you name it, that they took it. And we did not, afterwards, even though they were eager to share their story, because they were so far away, we didn't have an online channel or an online tool already designed or chosen that would allow these people easily to give us their stories. And so that was a missed opportunity. So I would say, the first thing I would say is just do it and make your mistakes and you will learn from it.
Yeah, sure.
That's the only way. But the second thing is, again, discuss with the community, ask them what ideas they have. Because on the first two playthons, we realized that the community, they had really good ideas, but we haven't asked them before. Because we're busy trying to micromanage everything, the first mistake that I told you. Yeah. So now we try to have very dedicated documenters, and with that account, I would like to share something that one of the most, I think, successful documenters in Urban Game Festival is Zoe. The impact that I've seen, Zoe, tell me again, Vines, sorry. Zoe's Vines, the small, very, very short videos that she curates and she uploads while the festival is happening, it doesn't only support the community itself, but it allows people that they were not there to really want to be there the next time. So trying to have people that they know what they're doing and they know how to do proper storytelling on time is magical, really.
So I'm not sure, Zoe, is Vine still a thing, or right now everything is in Instagram stories? So right now, Instagram stories.
Yeah, no, Vine sadly stopped. I haven't updated my phone, so I can still use the app. So because it's such an easy 6-second app, and then I can either upload it to Instagram or Twitter. So that's one way. So my documentation is like difficult now, but so I recently made a new Instagram account, a public one, to, instead of Vine, upload the stuff there. So it's Instagram stories and pictures, and then I will archive the things so that people can still have a look. But it feels a little bit less immediate somehow. But at least there is an archive of all the things that I've witnessed or participated in or seen or yeah. But Vine.
Vine, Instagram story. So there is another question that is like is the two question combined. The first one was asked in the platform by Browning, that goes in the platform by the name Floating Blue Scene, and was how to engage non-traditional audiences, so people that normally doesn't attend arts event. How do you find touch points, and what sort of strategy do you employ to engage them? And the other one was asked here, let me find it, from Salma Majed. No, we already asked this one. Here, Marie-Claire. So how we can creatively invite people to play, especially people who are a little scared to open up and get playful. Who want to start? Okay. Okay, Maria, you can start.
I can start. For us, it was a big deal because even though Mediterraneans have the people believe that we're very outgoing, but no, the Athenians, when it comes to public space, they will not put themselves out. No, we can be very judgmental. I did not expect that. So our first events were flaky. People were not eager to participate. And that's how we understood that we first have to learn more about them. So when we design, or when we have a designer that says, I want to go to that specific place, we ask ourselves or the designer to go there beforehand, observe the people, and try to create little scenarios. For example, that's something that I usually say to people that they've never done it before. Create little scenarios how they could include. If they are still, they cannot find points of entrance in the game, we sometimes create playtesting events beforehand. So much smaller, when we're just like 3-4 people, inviting pedestrians or people that they all are already in the neighborhood. And then we have a much better understanding of what might happen when the actual event takes place. 1, 2, people are very eager to do some design with us. So sometimes we make the game even much better. But in general, regarding even the small events, the workshops that we had or the meetups, we try to have a balance so that, let's say, I don't like the term, but let's say the introvert would feel safe enough either to play or to share their opinion or their dream or an idea that they had. So starting from very small, very easy exercises when you don't show yourself too much. At the same time, however, and I finish now, it was very important for us not to mute the ones that they had a lot of passion.
Yeah.
So every time in small events or in festivals, we try to have games that people would already feel safe, so that there is an entry point for everyone. Games that they're much more quiet, games that they have a lot of touching, games that they are difficult, games that they can be I don't know, very they can raise questions or even a lot of tensions, create different different points of entry. That's my main proposal on what we did as well.
Yeah. Gabi.
Yes, so for us it was important to figure out who we want to invite in. And we thought about different generations, like youth and older people. We also had an exhibition. So that was our anchor point for the older people, because we asked for play stories or like, what did you play in your when you were younger? So we had students going to retirement homes, asking people and collecting the stories and inviting them to the festival specifically. So they were also, some showed up and so they were also engaged and maybe talked to their children and grandchildren about the festival. And we also thought about youth centers who are working with refugees. So we created a workshop for an urban mini golf workshop. So they presented this at the festival as well. So beforehand, 2 weeks before, one of our students held workshops with them, inviting the youth in to create the out of recycling material, and they then had it in the festival incorporated. So we not only thought about, okay, who do we want to reach, but we actively went there and asked them to participate and to join in on their own. So what we think, what they were able to do, so that, yeah, so for non-traditional audiences, maybe to think about who do you want to have, and then asking yourself, how can you incorporate them, and then go and ask them. Maybe ask them also for ideas. And also what I think is for the community, a good way to engage is asking them for places to play, so that they can, like, location scouting could also be like, show us interesting spaces. So that could also be if you have a city or if you have a specific area which you maybe are not familiar with. Yeah, so there are also other people except the people who already want to play.
Yeah. So again, I think, like, the question, like, we're about audience, but again, we are saying it's not audience. It is not, like, totally correct to see them as consumer of our festival. They have to be incorporated as co-creator. And Zoe, what is like your bit on this? Like, so different audiences, how to incorporate them, etc.
a bit similar as what Maria said. It's with festival we create like these different kinds of participatory things. So some of them are really playful, and you really have to dive in. Some are a little bit more that you watch and then you can still experience it, or other people can play it and you can watch. So and then by seeing other people play, you might be enticed to also start playing. Or so it's a little bit about the invitation of seeing people doing it and then doing it yourself. Sometimes it's just because it's so enticing that people are like, yes, I want to do this. Like last year we had work from students that was all about smashing up old electronics, like printers and stuff, and you got this like little suit and glasses and stuff, and you could just pick your weapon, which was like a baseball bat or a hockey stick or a hammer, and people were like really really into it because it was also like stress release, and you got to go inside its huge installation. So that was really nice. Other times it's like there's different 4 doors, like just door frames and a door in it on a public space, and you open it and there's sounds in it and you see other people doing it. It's also not scary, and not really scary because it's all open, so you see what happens. So it's also about making people aware of that it's safe in a way, so it's safe for them to play. And I mean, even me, as creating these festivals where people can play, I will also have things that like I will never participate in because it's too much for me. It's maybe too intimate, or it's maybe too loud, but still other people enjoy doing it. So yeah. And another thing is, so it's about making these different levels of entry points, but it's also, if it's like one kind of project that you want to do, it's also about making it less scary. But so if there's nothing else, you should have someone who's inviting you to play. That's really important, because I've noticed that if it's just standing there and no one is playing it, then no one will do it. So there has to be this brave soul who's going to do it. But if you have like a smiling person who asks you and tells you like, hey, let's do this, that makes it easier. And sometimes I still say no.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's there. So yeah, have people, volunteers, or people who are really invested in it and can tell you something about what's gonna happen. Have someone there to share that with you.
Yes, I would love to add on this, because we also had at every session a student helping and engaging with the public. So if people were just standing there, what are you doing? So a non-player could give information, so that the group was not like disturbed in a kind of way when they're really engaged in a play, but having a person there to can interact with the people, and maybe then they like to join in. They could hand out flyers and say, hey, we have a festival, have you heard? Go there and you can join in.
Yeah, and I think also one thing that sometimes as a game designer we forget is like to create clear rules of engagement. And also, like you were talking about safety, and like because like we ask player to really put themselves on the spot, and like to really be vulnerable, basically, to like others that are passing and they are judging them and this kind of stuff. So like I think consent and like being like adamant about what is going to happen and what is that we are asking you is really something that sometimes I personally forget to do, but it's really, really important, especially when you play in public space. Okay, so I'm gonna like check the question that we had like from
Can I say something before?
Sure,
that?
go Maria. I'm gonna look at the question.
I want to also say that in our experience, it was very important not only to make sure that people that they were a little scared or shy or they've never done it before to entry, but it's also about being inclusive. For example, there are completely different people that you can meet in the city. Sometimes there can be people with disabilities, different age groups and such. So usually we would try to have either very dedicated designers, games, or volunteers that they would assist these people and make sure that they would find the games that they can easily play. Or that was, I think, the most successful events that we had. They asked from the designers to create different levels of participation in their games. That was a help for the designers initially, but afterwards they told us that they loved it, all of them. So, for example, in the last big plaython in Athens, we had it happened that we had 15 people from a special school visiting by. And because we already had the discussion with two designers, they redesigned the game on the spot, including everybody. So it was a different game. What happened is that 15 people, the next year, they also wanted to create a game. So it was that level of being on the spot, very fast, trying to include everybody and destroying your game, if possible, and making something new that really made a change.
Mm.
And I also would love to add one thing. I think it's in terms of safety, also tell the people who are participating they don't have to stay. So if they really don't feel comfortable, they can drop out. So that's a really important thing for me. And then, like, the pass buyers are not always in the same kind of playful mood. So be sensible and sensitive with people in public spaces, and don't force them to do stuff. And yeah, this is a main important thing, to be careful with yourself and with others, and be sensible and allow them to join in, and allow them not to join in.
Yeah. So thank you. So if like the participant, you have any other questions? So there are 3 questions that I think we're gonna answer like in the platform, because like I think they need like their own like discussion. One was the question from Connor, and that he asked about trust. So basically, is trust in play interesting in problematizing the issue of trust, and when can we be confident that we're just playing, or when we can recognize that we are being playing? I think this is a bigger conversation that we can like discuss, which is basically at the core of the project itself. So not like today, but is a very interesting. So thank you, Connor Maloney, again, to ask that. We're gonna put that in the platform so we can discuss about that. Another question was like from Valia. Let me pick this up. Valia Dun, that says, is a practical question, is the use of technology in games, and also if there is an easy graphic program for creating card game design and for the urban games. I also think that this one like is more practical, is not like really related to festival, so we can like move that to the platform, and we can like ask about that and talk about that like there when we're gonna focus on the design process. And I think the last one, which is a question that is giving you some work to do, is from Salma Majed again, which is asking, is it possible to see any documentation of the process of a festival or a playful conference to get a better idea of the planning and thoughts that need to go into it? So Maria is like hiding because like, but like, I don't know, like probably not now, because like, I don't think that you have something ready for that, but it will be amazing, I think, to see like, if you have like, I don't know, a chart, or like if you have milestones in your calendar, or if you have like, and also like probably the programs of the different festival that you organized, because like then you can see the scale and the scope of the events, and then you can like have an idea of the timeline that takes to create that one. So maybe this is not for today. Yeah, Maria, go for it.
And I think that this question should be answered with a course in October. I think it would be wonderful.
Yeah, awesome.
Try to answer that question, really. What are the different types, if there are differences, and so I think it's a wonderful question, really.
Yeah, I think it would be like very, very interesting. And so for me, like my last question for you, and then we can close the webinar, is what is the next thing that you're really excited about? And yeah, we can start with Gabi. Yeah.
Yes. So my next project where I'm involved in is a project with a Berlin-based group called Anticipate. So they are in Hellersdorf, which is an area with like prefab buildings. So they were 2 years there and incorporating a little booth where they call it Schloss, like a castle. And they invite the children and the youth there to incorporate in activities. And this group is coming to Bonn, which is very close to Cologne. And I am working with them to set up in July a camp for the Berlin children, like 30 children who come over to Bonn and to discover the city and do playful things and taking stories from Berlin to Bonn and vice versa. And then children of Bonn will later on go to Berlin and visit them. So like the exchange of different kind of like Berlin is the capital city now, but Bonn was before. So not only about just visiting a city, but also incorporating the history of the city and the history of the children, like the family history and how the parents live in Hellersdorf and how the Bonn children live there. And also it will be an exhibition there for the Bonn people, for the Bonn children, and then they go back to Berlin. So that's I'm very excited about this.
When is this happening?
So the children will come to from Hellersdorf to Bonn at the 15th of July until the 19th of July. Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, please keep us updated. Zoe, like, what is the thing that you are excited about? The next thing?
The future of my festival is a little bit uncertain. So I hope we can do it again. Then I would be very excited to do it in 2020. But we'll see. If anyone knows, I need funding and all of that juicy stuff. So any help, appreciated.
Yeah, sure.
And another thing, there is a Game Arts International network that's more about like video games. And which I'm also part of, and in November there will be like a conference in Argentina, Buenos Aires, about this network, and a couple of curators will come together and discuss the things like how to build communities and network and stuff like that, but more from the video game art perspective. And if I get funding to go there, then I will go there, which is very exciting to me. And so still figuring out what to do with Playful Arts. But I've got loads of other projects as well. So cool. Exciting.
So Playful Arts, you did it like in 2018. So the next one could be like in 2020. And now you're like in the raising funds moment. Okay.
Now I'm like more.
Money.
Yeah, I'm more in a panic state kind of thing of like, because my colleague has another job, so she won't be able to help or do this with me anymore. So I need partners. I can also do it in a different country. So if anyone wants to do Playful Arts with me, sure, I'm open to this.
Cool.
Cool. That's the state of it currently.
Yeah, I'm sure that of course, use the platform. Probably maybe someone could be like interested in joining, and like I think like you have such a long experience that the feeling is that you have like someone that will join your team will be like, yeah, Zoe. He's very experienced, and so it will be no problem. And thank you for sharing this. And Maria, what is the thing that you are really excited about? I know what is.
Really, I've been waiting for 2 years for that. So this is the last week of the open call, and I know that it's the week that everybody's waiting to send it, and I'm super excited every minute I'm checking it again and again to see the new ones and the new people. So I'm really looking forward to Monday when we're going to have a Skype with Sebastian. Hello, Sebastian. We're going to have a Skype and figure out about the people and see what are the amazing creative creatures that they want to be with us for the next year. And in a more personal note, we have been trying to set up a workshop play experience. It's still very early on regarding derive and different types of drifting in the city. And the super exciting part for me is that the people that they sell Schedia is a magazine like the Big Issue. So it's people that it's a specific magazine that it's designed and being sold in Athens by the people that are homeless or they have been homeless for a while. So I had a discussion with them, and they are very good to participate on that and share their secrets and their input about Athens, because they know it in a way that no one else does. So I'm super, super excited about making the visible invisible and so on. And of course, it's going to be a zero budget project, so don't worry. Nothing to expect here. Mainly trusting plates. I'm really looking forward.
Okay, so thank you again, all of you, like, to participate today, for your time. It was like an amazing conversation, and I think that we learn a lot from the discussion. So really thank you for your time, and like for all the insight that you share with us, and all the tips and tricks, and also the mistake. Like it was it's good to like start to creating a learning community, because we can share like mistake, and then everybody can learn from each other. For all the participants, I really we recorded this, so we're gonna post that on the community, and then you can listen to that, share it, and also like ask other questions. And you have a homework, so if you can like share, like I saw that you already share like in the chat, but maybe we can do that also like in the platform, in the forum. If you can share like the programs of your like past events, and also like if you have like some timeline or whatever, that will be like really useful for everybody in the community. And again, as Maria said, we have the open call. The open call is open for until the 31st of May. So if you're interested, apply now, because then we're gonna close it, and then we're gonna like select our trainees. So that's it. I'm gonna thank you again, Gabi and Maria and Zoe, for joining us. I'm gonna put you on the spot so you can say something if you want. Now Gabi is writing, so she doesn't know anything. Okay. Whatever, she just might. Okay, thank you all. She said that. Great. Yeah, thank you again. And so talk to you soon in the community, okay? Thank you also for all the participants. Have a good evening, and talk to you soon for the next webinar.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.